So dried cranberries can make such a beautiful decoration for your home and gifts during the holiday season. So for our Handmade Christmas Home series today, I am going to show you my own unique way for drying cranberries that will actually possibly last you for years. And then I'd like to share with you some ideas of how you can use dried cranberries in your seasonal decor. I've been displaying dried cranberries in our Christmas home tours on my blog and on my channel for years now, and have finally decided to share with you how I make them, since this really is my #1 follower question when the holiday season comes around. Now, I didn't think that how we made them was too unique, but actually after digging around the web, I really couldn't see anybody doing it with the exact same method. It's actually difficult to dry cranberries in a way that preserves this plump shape of a cranberry. And I remembered it was just an experiment that the hubs and I did a few years ago, after we just wondered what would happen if we tried to dry them the same way that we were drying like our orange slices. It is common to see fresh cranberries in garland and decor, but typically they are fake cranberries being used as decor, and that's because they're kind of difficult to dry in a way that maintains their shape. The dried cranberries that I've often seen being used and made by DIYers, they're typically shrunk and kind of shriveled and look more like a raisin than a dried cranberry. So don't be discouraged if you've tried it and they didn't turn out so pretty. These dried cranberries are actually a year old. I did them last year. And I've had garlands that we've made that are probably more than 3 years old, and they still look beautiful, and we pull them out every year. Now, some of the cranberries are a little shriveled, but for the most part, they turn out so lovely. I love the deep red burgundy color that they achieve after drying, and the characteristics of them all coming together in just their imperfect beauty. I just love it so much. So finally, here is a step-by-step on how we dry our cranberries. So step 1, when you get your fresh cranberries from the grocery store or wherever, give them a good wash and then let them dry thoroughly. Step 2, just lay the cranberries out onto a food dehydrator tray and don't overcrowd them. It's actually best if you put some parchment paper down or a liner first, so that if they shrink, they won't fall through the tray holes. You could also layer in other fruit if you have it, like orange slices or apples. Just know right away that they won't take the same amount of time, so you'll have to check on them. Now, step 3 is to set your food dehydrator to 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Step 4 is just to watch and wait until they're done and keep a very close eye on it. Now, how long will that take, you might ask? Here's what we've experienced. Dehydrating fruit is a little unpredictable. The moisture content varies, so there really is no one answer. Stuff like oranges and apples are going to be done a lot faster. Depending on how thick you cut the slices, it could take a few hours to overnight even. You just have to keep checking. Now, as for cranberries, they take a long time. The outer layer of a cranberry is super thick and they are super juicy inside. And so we've had them take anywhere from 3 to 4 days to a week in the dehydrator. We usually stick it out in the garage so we don't have to listen to the dehydrator run for that long, and then we check on them very frequently. Now, we wondered if we pricked the outside with a needle of it, that if it would make a difference in the dry time, and we found that it really didn't. If anything, it might have made them shrivel up more rather than keeping them nice and plump. So yes, it takes a long time to dry these babies at a low temperature. And this is why I really don't recommend you do this in your oven at home. I would not love running my oven for that long for sure. So if you're wondering if you have to have a food dehydrator to dry cranberries, it's at least my experience that you do, or try to find some other way to suck out the moisture at low heat for a very long time. Now, we use our food dehydrator all the time for snacks and food preservation, so for me, it is a worthwhile investment, and I'll recommend some good ones in the description. and on my blog post if you want to check that out. You might also be able to do this in a freeze dryer if you have one, and that is something that I would like to try, but freeze dryers are a lot more expensive than a food dehydrator, and buying one just to try cranberries might not make sense. But if you have one, it might be worth trying, and if you do, let me know what the results were. Now, when it comes to storing your dried cranberries, I've had success just keeping them in a Ziploc bag, closed tight inside of a tote. But it would be best to store them in a Mylar bag, probably with an oxygen absorber. So once you've dried some cranberries, what can you do with them? Well, my absolute favorite way to use them is just to make a cranberry garland. You can just use string or thread and a needle and string them up just like you would string popcorn. It makes the most charming, old-fashioned Christmas decor, and I think it is so endearing. That deep red is just beautiful on a tree. You can then use this garland on your Christmas tree, woven within wreaths or other evergreen garland, maybe strung on your mantle, you name it, really sky's the limit. I also like to use them as gift toppers, so you can string them up and pull the ends together to make a circle or this little mini wreath, and then top it on a gift for such a beautiful touch of red. I've also used the mini cranberry wreaths as embellishments for the hanging stockings on our mantle. And if you mix that around with other dried fruits, it's again just so beautiful and simple. I just absolutely love it. I just love that look. So also in mini wreath form, they work as great napkin rings. There really are so many beautiful things you can do with your dried cranberries. Honestly, they would also just be pretty sitting inside a bowl around the home or whatever else you might think of. Now, I hope you get a chance to dry some cranberries and use them in your holiday decorations. Please let me know if you do. And I would also love to see if you happen to share on Instagram, just go ahead and tag me at Cami Tidbits. I've also got the written instructions for how to dry the cranberries on my blog at tidbits-cami.com. I will link it below. And if you have another minute or two, go check out my online market for the keeper of the home at tidbitsandcompany.com. I have some lovely linen stockings available right now, and even linen ribbon that is also just perfect for holiday decorations and gifts. Thank you so much for watching today. I will be back very soon to share more inspiration for the keeper of the home and inspiration for your handmade Christmas home.